buddies, 3M Affairs podcast. Josh here. Today we're talking about Bridesmaids. Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, the whole gang is here. With me is Caleb and Brandon, my buddies. How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm
doing okay.
I don't know how you left Melissa McCarthy off that list though. What a badass.
Or Rose Byrne, who's like the best in the whole thing.
What's the dude?
I just threw names off the top of my head.
Yeah, but we're going to pick that apart now. What's the guy's name who played Chris something? Is Chris O'Donnell?
Chris O'Dowd.
It's not Chris O'Dowd.
Yeah.
I said Chris O'Donnell, but that's Robin.
Yeah, whatever happened to Chris O'Donnell? Let's do some investigative journalism.
He's got it. No, he's got it. He's I think if I'm not mistaken, he has been doing some cop show for years.
Oh, good.
He's doing like NCIS, like LA or something, right? Or something, yeah.
Something is absolutely. I think it is NCIS. It's something like that. Something that's been running for 78 years already.
Cool.
Right.
So he's fine. I'm glad that he's okay.
I like him. I loved Robin growing up in that movie. That was like.
I bet you did.
Dude, those nipples on that costume. I mean, come on.
I don't like
Joel
that you
Schumacher,
guys.
Joel Schumacher is such an interesting, like, you know. I remember watching all these interviews of people like back, you know, in the 90s or 80s or whatever, when being gay was like still kind of like, you know, whatever, people looked at it weird, but he's always just been out. And I remember this one interview with Colin Farrell being like, yeah, like everybody in Ireland, like we all know that he's kind of, you know, but we rap by 4:00 every day. So what the fuck, you know? And it's just interesting, you know, and then he fucking makes Batman have bat nipples but then he makes like,
hold on, I liked Batman Forever. Like, I understand people's issues with it, but I watched, and I'm saying this now, I watched it the other night. And so, like, in like watching it now with nostalgia, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. This is great.
All right.
Also,
I haven't
totally.
seen it in years.
Nicole Kidman is doing some real, it's like she's doing like a 10 in comic book, like, acting, and I love it.
Who is she
perfectly.
Again?
She is, I want to say Vicky Vale, but that's not right.
No, I thought she wasn't Poison Ivy.
No, that was Uma Thurman. So it's the movie before that. And she's playing like she's a psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's like she's doing like a 10 of like super like sultry comic book acting. Like she's like trying to like bang Batman the whole time, and I just could not stop like laughing in a really positive way. Like I was enjoying it. I was like, oh, this is a choice you made, and I love it. Like, so you're just having a great time.
Great.
This is Val Kilmer, not Clooney, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because Clooney, I like him as Bruce Wayne. I don't know about his Batman necessarily, but
the best part is that Clooney has all these interviews where he talks about how like he's like, oh yeah, no, I ruined the Batman franchise. And it's just like he does it. Just the way he talks about it, you know. I think there's one where he's either Ben Affleck. He was on Graham Norton's show, and Ben Affleck or like Christian Bale. They were talking about, did they ask you for advice? And he was like, why would you ask me for advice? I ruined it. And just like laughing because he's George Clooney, because he's the man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to go from, like, say what you want about Tim Burton. You know, I don't think he is necessarily. He has more misses than hits, in my opinion. But he's such like a visual person, and the visual identity that he gave to Gotham, I think, hasn't really been matched. Because like in Batman Begins, I like the work that Nolan did in creating, like he kind of went there, and you had like the monorail, which like gave it its own like unique thing.
But it's realistic. It's realistic.
But The Dark Knight is just Chicago.
Right.
But I really like what Tim Burton did with it visually, even if I think those movies... I think the second one with like Danny DeVito really holds up. I haven't seen the first one in a while. But
you know what? It's funny you say that. I haven't seen the second one in a while.
Maybe we have our new... maybe we have some stuff we got to check out sometime.
I like it.
I'm sorry. How are you? You guys are all good, though? I know, Batman talk aside. Checking in, making sure you guys are mentally okay. Physically, emotionally. Brandon's feeling good after watching Bridesmaids, which is good.
Oh,
that's okay.
Shit.
Yeah. So he's doing good.
No, that's a pretty good, actually that's a pretty good way to label the state of my life. Yeah, I'm upside down. So that's about it.
Damn, bro.
No, I mean, look, everything's good. Toronto's starting to open up with the film industry again, so a lot of auditions this week and stuff like that, which has been nice. Yeah, and just like kind of in talks for a couple different projects and trying to figure things out, and seeing everything goes. I did the COVID safety guidelines last night, the certificate thing online.
I saw that. Yeah.
It takes like 20 minutes. Read through a bunch of stuff, and it's all good. It's all very common sense. It's good practices being put in place. It's definitely a positive thing. So yeah,
great.
Can't be anything but positive. We've been sitting on our asses for like 4 months, so it's nice to be able to do something.
Yeah, man.
I try. It's a struggle every day, to kind of be like, what do I want to do today,
Yeah.
But like, it's interesting because I started catching up on my Supergirl and Batwoman and stuff like that to try and just get through all these last seasons of my CW shows, our CW shows, the superhero shows. And it's so interesting because they all film in Canada, right? Most of them.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Brandon?
And mostly Vancouver.
So I'd be interested to see if like those come back next, I would say next spring if they do start, filming. They'll do like shorter.
For example, I read today, which is along the same lines. I did read today that apparently Titan season 3 just started post-production or pre-production again.
Okay.
Sorry, for season 3. So if they're opening up in Ontario, BC has less cases, I believe now. So I think they're would be ahead of us if I'm right. So seems like those shows will be I would guess the first shows back.
Yeah, because right now LA is nowhere near allowing people to film in New York.
Yeah.
New York maybe.
Yeah, New York.
But just because they are steady and they've been steady for a long time. But I feel like there's going to be like this cusp, like it's creeping up the coast. You know what I mean? Like you see that map and it's like, I can feel it, right? Like right when I'm about to go back to work in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever,
right.
It's going to hit again. I'm just going to be like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's funny because, so Caleb and I talked, when we were like practicing our like microphone recording last week before the official recording, we talked about series like structure, like episode structure and stuff. And we were talking about, I brought up the CW shows because they're like 22 episodes, 42 minutes, whatever, and like newer things coming out are like 10 episodes, 8 episodes. But it's so funny watching or binge watching Supergirl, let's say. It's CW, it's a lot of CGI, like it's kind of weird and corny sometimes and stuff. But like you can tell when the show hits major plot points for the season, because those scenes are like really good in terms of like TV. Other episodes, but that's like every like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the episodes in between are like, who cares? What's this? I don't know. They have 5 minutes at the very end that they reveal something else. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting in terms of TV and structure now, where you go to like 10 episode seasons. And like for something like the morning show, I felt like the final 2 episodes were like really good. But then we had to like, why did we have to watch through those first 7 episodes to get to this? Well, it's character building. You got to get their backstory and their history and things like that. But even so, with this binge culture, I just find it interesting how it's changed from a scheduled weekly thing where you have your network television shows that everybody plans to, watch on Sunday nights, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, whatever.
Yeah, which is a dead, that's a dead or a dying system, I guess. Yeah. It's definitely super interesting, like the differences in the.
I just get how formulaic it is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Okay. And the best example, the example I always go to is House. And the House I loved it. It was a great show. The acting was great. Caleb's laughing at me.
No, just because when I hear House, I think of House.
Oh, okay.
House.
Sorry, wait till you see the description I put up for it.
Oh, I can't wait.
What was I saying?
No, Hugh Laurie's great on that show.
The too many punches to the face again. Oh, right, House. Thank you. God, my brain. House is. It's the exact same show every episode in the best way for the first couple seasons, where it's so serialized that it's, there's a problem, they can't figure it out, then they think they figure it out, at 40 minutes or 35 minutes, then they start trying to fix it, then something goes wrong, and then in the last second, he figures it out and saves them, and then everything's good. It's like the last 5 minutes, it's the same show every episode, and it was great for a while. and then it just became, I mean, like too much for me personally. But I mean, they had the running storylines through all that, but you know what I mean. The serialization, it gets a lot.
Well, when you have like an open-ended, you know, I always prefer narratives that are like closed loops. Like you have a clear like beginning, middle, and end. Like Breaking Bad, I think works so well because they knew where they were going and they knew vaguely how long it was going to take to get there. When you have these shows that are like, we're just going to keep going as if people keep watching, and then like, you know, that like, I don't know of a single scenario I can think of that has gone on longer than like 6 seasons that has remained consistent in quality. Because like, then it's like the network's like, all right, this is your last season. It's like, fuck, now we got to figure out how we're going to end it. You know? So like, think of how bad The Walking Dead is, or like, you know, how bad Lost got by the end. You know, it's just like crazy. But that's just me.
Well, okay, but Lost seems like such a like crazy example in that, and I don't know, honestly have no idea, but it very much seems like great idea. They started writing the shit out of it, and then we're like, well,
when you focus your entire hook of your series on a mystery that you don't know the answer to, it's insane. You know, like, isn't this great? I'm like, yeah, I'm really intrigued. Where's this going? They're like, we don't know. We're gonna figure it out together. And it's so frustrating.
This is a pick your own adventure story. Did we not tell you that at the beginning?
Motherfucker, you're not R.L. Stein. You gotta give me a fucking ending.
Yeah, it is interesting with like storytelling. You know what I mean? Like, and how many episodes do we actually need? You know,
8 episode seasons. I'm realizing are perfect.
I love that you just said that. I mean, like, I'm working on a project that's like kind of my passion project right now, and like putting it together, and like, yeah, it's an 8 episode outline. It also seems like the easiest way to start it and build it, you know?
You have the 1 to 2 episode like introduction, and then episodes 3 and 4, you're continuing the story. Episode 5 or 6, maybe, that's your pocket episode, where you go and have your own contained little adventure that seemingly doesn't have anything to do with the plot, but thematically is very relevant. And then the rest of your season's the climax. It's perfect.
Aw, there you go.
It's
perfect.
You gotta say.
I just gave you the secret answer. Anybody listening?
I know. We gotta. I think it's important. You gotta say more stuff like that. Like, that's actual knowledge and information that can help people. I feel like that's what we should be doing.
They're talking about
that was fantastic.
We're talking about the fucking bat nipples and like.
Yo, Josh, later send me an isolated audio clip of that. I'm gonna have to re-listen to that. Learn something.
Okay.
Yeah, we're joking around, and as soon as we hang up, Brandon's going to be like, I've cracked the code.
Eureka!
No. Well, before we get started, like, into whatever, I did want to point out, I don't know if you guys saw, but Ennio Morricone passed away, who's, like, one of the most famous composers of all time.
I did not.
And he, like, lived a very full life. He was in his 90s, so, you know, and he accomplished so much. He did, like, all of the Sergio Leone films, like Once Upon a Time in America. He did The Good, Bad, the Ugly, Cinema Paradiso, Days of Heaven, Ripley's Game, The Thing, which is one of my favorite scores of all time. He worked with Quentin Tarantino on The Hateful Eight. I mean, this guy was so accomplished, and any score that you've heard, you know, in the past 40, 50 years even, has been, like, directly influenced by him, I would say. Just such a fucking master of his craft. And I can't think of another person who's, like, for so long. I would encourage you guys to find, Yo-Yo Ma did a recording of some of his most famous themes called Yo-Yo Ma Plays Ennio Morricone. And, like, if you guys can track that down and listen to it, it's, like, fucking really, really special. I don't know. I love music. And, like, everybody talks about, like, John Williams or whatever. And he's great. But, like, this guy was, like, fucking crushing it in all different, like, drama, horror, comedy, like Western, like every conceivable fucking type of movie you can think of. And he's perfect. You know, it is just amazing. R.I.P.
It's so,
people don't understand just how empty something feels without the score or sound editing or things like that. You know, like, they actually, like, music and humans, like, coexist in such a way that, like, if you're not feeling something, there's something in the music that will make you feel something. And that's, you know, we use music and score to really kind of carry the audience through the, you know, the emotional structures, you know.
You need it 100%. Like, it changes everything.
Well, I would say that you need to know when to use it, because a good score used effectively is amazing. But
Right.
I've seen movies that it's like they overuse a certain overture and like and it becomes draining.
Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Friday Night Lights or the show? Actually, I think they use this. It's the same band, but it's Explosion in the Sky who does the score. And it's fantastic. It's not, it's just very, it's very specific. It's very like everything's got a very like a lot of things have an uplifting tone to it.
Right. Well, it's funny because like I remember, we can't, mention sound score without, mentioning Hans Zimmer a little bit, but I do think
I totally
think
thought
Caleb
you were going to
was,
say Max. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
or Max.
I know, right?
Or
Yeah,
Max.
Buddy Max is
Hey,
a
Max,
fucking
how you doing?
amazing
Hope
composer.
you're well.
He's so
That's
good.
where that's where my head goes as well.
He is,
I think one
yeah.
day he's going to end up winning like an Academy Award for that.
And he loves like
the
Alan
man's
Silvestri
extremely
and Hans
talented,
Zimmer
yeah.
for sure. Really, really good. He's got great taste.
Yeah,
9 Inch
that
Nails,
is-
Trent Reznor, baby.
Fucking
Trent Reznor
there
has made
you
some
go.
fucking
fantastic
phenomenal scores. Like The Social Network, Watchmen, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Waves. Like, amazing. Who would have thought the fucking Closer guy, like the the fucking Downward Spiral guy would be... I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
No, I'm right?
interested.
Gerard Way for Umbrella Academy did a bunch of the soundtrack. Obviously,
You see that season 2 trailer?
Not yet. I haven't watched it yet. I saw the Boys
Yeah, me
season
either.
2 trailer though.
Yeah, that shit looks amazing. The Boys.
I still haven't finished The Boys.
Oh,
It's
dude,
good.
so good. How
It's good.
You got like halfway through it or what?
I got four episodes, I think,
Yeah.
before it was. It's so weird to think time before Corona right now, but it's like I remember being able to like trying to watch a show and then having to go to work or be
Right.
busy or go do something, and then I never get around to it. So I'm sure I can add it back, to the list or whatever. But
And guess what? It's 8 episodes.
I'm excited. It is 8 episodes. Oh, it is.
Yeah. I thought that kid was so good in it. What's his name?
Randy
main guy.
Quaid's son.
Yeah. I wish I could remember what his first name is, but something Quaid.
Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid. I thought he was
Yeah.
he was awesome, and then I didn't know that he was Randy Quaid's son, and his mom is also I can't remember who his mom is, but also incredibly famous. But I'm watching and I'm like, who are you? Like, why do you look so familiar? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, because you're Dennis Quaid's kid and Meg Ryan's kid, and you look like both of them.
I hope so.
He was great though, great.
I was floored at the actor who plays Homelander, like the Superman character.
Right? Yeah.
I think the writing is good. I think it's an okay show, but I could not take my eyes off of him. I was so impressed with the work that he was doing and the range that he was able to display. And I don't want to the rest of the cast is great too, but he specifically really blew me away. And I didn't know who he was.
And it's a character. It's a real character. Like, Jack Quaid's character is obviously he's the lead, so it's the most normal character. Same with Billy the Butcher. What's that actor's name? He's amazing. He's in everything. Fantastic.
Yeah. I love and Carl Urban's great too.
Yeah, Carl Urban. He's fantastic.
But no, I mean, imagine if, for those listening who don't know, if Superman was just a fucking psychopath asshole. And he's so good.
Yeah. It's like, it's almost like it's not the same, but in the way that he's such a good and interesting villain. It's like, D'Onofrio in Daredevil or David Tennant in Jessica Jones. Like, it's not the same. There's a lot more humor in it, and obviously, but for me, it's the same level, if not better, of like, wow, took this character and, sorry, Josh?
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. No, but David Tennant and Jessica Jones, that his villain that season was such a. I remember being like, how the fuck is she going to beat this guy? Because it hooked me when second to last episode, I'm still like, I don't know how she's gonna do it. She's not gonna fucking do it. And then she does it. But
he was so good.
Yeah, so good.
My favorite bad guy like that, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever watch Firefly?
I haven't yet.
No.
I have to watch it.
It's one of my favorite TV shows. The movie that they made called Serenity is great also. And Chiwetel Ejiofor plays the villain. And he is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite villain performances. He's so quiet and subdued. Because the rest of that cast, like Nathan Fillion and all those guys, they're like, we're like space cowboys and we're like, ugh. But Chiwetel just goes the complete other way and is like a monk, basically, and how centered he is and threatening and intimidating. He's fucking amazing. That guy's great. He should
awesome.
He should win every Oscar every year. I love him. Sorry, I'm done going on tangents.
Josh, I know you want to move on just real quick. I wanted to jump back to what you were talking about with the CW shows.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of news that's come out about all of those shows. There's a lot of cast changeover. So real quick, I just want to touch on that.
Yeah, let me know.
Stargirl got picked up, right, Caleb? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it moved. I think it's moving to them.
Announced. Yes, that's what it was. From DC to CW. The big one from yesterday or last night, it was announced the new Batwoman. I cannot remember her name, but she looks fantastic, and she's black, which is great.
And a lesbian.
Wonderful.
So,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
You got two for one.
What's she from? She looks like a great Batwoman. I'm pumped for it.
I don't know. I don't think she's from anything big. I think this is her big break.
Love it. I like that even better.
People are upset.
That's my favorite.
Not that people aren't upset. I don't think about her necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there are people, but I think people are more upset that they like. And I'm not as invested in the comics, so I don't know. But it seemed like what I was reading, it was a lot of like, I think there's so many actual like characters from the source material they could have went with, and they just like created a new person. Well, but that's like fair. Whatever. Who cares? Like, I'm sure if they do it well, people will watch it.
I mean, it's the same as like, they said that about Miles Morales, and now he's like one of the greatest characters ever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like can't be Spider-Man, so they like, well, we'll make one. And then he's amazing. He's such a good character,
and it's an amazing character. But also, they should have just let Donald Glover be Peter Parker in the movie. That would have been it would have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but they didn't, and now we have Spider-Verse, and I'm thankful we have Spider-Verse.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
It's so that was amazing. Sorry, Josh.
I'm interested to see what they do. I'm just interested to see what they do in terms of like, is it going to be season 2 or is it going to be season 1?
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
I think from what I've heard, season 2, it's going to be season 2. But that's an interesting thought.
I wonder if they'll do a quick crossover with the Flash. Maybe, I don't know.
That's all they need, really, right? You just need the Flash to come in and fuck up the timeline again and be like, oh wait, what? It's you now?
Just Batwoman's just Batwoman's timeline. That's all.
They'll do that horrible. They'll do that horrible thing where it's like, you look different, and then like
the best version of that is, and I think we've brought this up before, is in Iron Man 2 when he walks in, he's like, "Yeah, it's me. Let's get over it." And
the actual line Don Cheadle has is great. Like,
yeah, what is it?
RDJ turns to him and he goes, "I'm here. It is what it is. We're just going to move on." And he's like, okay. And then they go have their fucking bullshit trial or whatever. And Mickey Rourke is like, I am Russia.
But it's so good. It's so good. And then, but the other thing I was going to say about all the CW stuff is the guy who plays Ralph Dibny got fired a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah, you mentioned that, because of sexual, I
don't know, the guy who played Ralph Dibny.
I don't know who that is.
Elastic Man.
What happened? Did he
tweets from like, bad? Just like tweets from years ago when they were like really, really bad jokes that like they were like obviously like putting out like stand-up type jokes on Twitter type of thing, but we're so just ridiculous. So
I don't like that you can get fired for something.
No,
I don't know. Whatever. I haven't seen the tweets. Maybe if I read them, I'd be like, "Oh, you're a fucking asshole." But
right. I mean, I think every situation's its own situation that we have to.
But like, honestly, like with James Gunn, it's like the public's like appreciation and litmus for humor changes like every year. So like, how can you like look back and it's like, what are we gonna, let's cancel like fucking it's like when people are like Robert Downey Jr. should be canceled for Tropic Thunder. It's like, it's fucking stupid.
I mean, they got nominated for an Academy Award, so how does that work?
Yeah.
Or is that the problem? Yeah. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know anything.
That being said, I watched Hamilton last night and it was amazing.
I think you gotta see it live. I don't like that Disney censored it, so I haven't watched it.
What do you mean?
They took fuck out.
Well, they're trying to fucking whitewash the world, and I think it's fucking ridiculous.
Well,
it might only be a couple of words, but I think it's important. I don't like that they can just buy everything and then, shape it to what they think standards are for like, I don't know.
Here's the thing.
You're having people watch a musical about fucking slave owners, and like you're taking like fuck out. Like what? There's people getting murdered. And it's like, oh, it's a bad word. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but
stupid.
It's a ratings thing. That's all. It's as soon as you move it.
You're online. You don't have to worry about ratings. It's not fucking being streamed online.
Oh, actually, how does that work? That's
the whole reason why Netflix can do what they do is because they don't have to be adjusted to the ratings board, because you're responsible when you sign up for a streaming service to know the content and use your own parental. Like, that's why you can have like sex on like these
interesting
Amazon shows or Netflix things, because they don't have to appeal to ratings. But Disney has their brand, and they're so focused on sanitizing and being like, you know, and presenting the world not as it is. Even in their fucking, like, nature documentaries, they own National Geographic and they'll edit out, like, these, like, videos of animals, like, eating each other. It's like, what do you think? These kids are like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It's just fucking ridiculous. And that's my own crusade, and I know very few people agree with me. It's a great show, and I hope people watch it, and I hope people get engaged into different, like, mediums of art, and it seems like people are enjoying it. But I was fortunate enough to see it live, so I don't feel any.
So I didn't see it, and watching it last night, super inspirational.
Yeah, it's
probably
a great musical.
Probably the best show I've seen, and I've seen a lot of shows. You know, I mean, like I saw Book of Mormon live with like Josh Gad in the original cast, and I thought that or Death of a Salesman was the best. But I mean, even watching like Hamilton's just such a well written show.
Well, yeah, it's just not the same.
Obviously, those are both amazing as well. But I've never seen anything like that either.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
How do you write 30 different songs in different genres? How talented can you be? Anyways.
Lin-Manuel really wrote a line for, like, so he played Hamilton himself, and he wrote the girl a line where she said, he's handsome and he knows it. Like, what a fucking, like, power move.
Love it. So something that Disney would never buy and wash out, Bridesmaids.
Oh, wow. We're talking about a movie today.
Yeah, it's been a half hour.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry,
okay.
John.
It's been a half hour,
Josh
guys.
get
And
frustrated with us in the corner.
You know, it's funny. I'm not frustrated, but I'm just sitting here going, I'm going to have to edit 30 minutes of banter, which is cool. And we talk about really good things, but then again, it's like, I would love to talk about Bridesmaids. You know what I mean?
That's what we're doing. So instead of talking about how you want to talk about it, just talk about it.
Bro, I've been watching the time. We're like half an hour in, so we're perfectly timed to be starting talking about Bridesmaids. Thank you very much.
Cool.
I don't think it's going to take an hour to discuss. So,
you know, it's funny. When you were talking about like tweets from previous years and like controversial comedy, I was about to jump in. This is before Hamilton talk. Jump in with, you know, speaking of somebody who's been criticized for their lack of taste in their comedy, Judd Apatow produced a film
Has it been
called Bridesmaids. You know,
is that a criticism that he gets? I don't know that
I was reading a little bit. He has a tendency, like, it's like the male humor and things like that, and sexist and homophobic and like
knocked up. He got that was a
yeah. You know, 40-year-old virgin.
Ridiculous. He doesn't really treat women very well in his material.
No, but we have Bridesmaids, right? Came out 2011, 9 years old now. Directed by Paul Reeve, right?
Feig.
Paul Feig. And starring a list of, you know, great actresses: Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Kimmy Schmidt, Melissa McCarthy.
I don't even know her real name. It's Ellie Kemper.
I have it written down. Hold on.
Ellie Kemper, John Hamm, Rose Byrne, Chris O'Dowd, Tim Heidecker,
Wendy McLendon,
Melissa McCarthy, obviously. Yeah, it's a good.
What's cast. Melissa McCarthy's husband's name?
Ben Falcone.
Yeah, he's hilarious as well.
Air Marshal John. Yeah. So it's a movie, a comedy about a woman, Maya Rudolph. She gets engaged and has some bridesmaids, and it's the journey of Annie and.
Pull that right from the IMDb.
You guys, seriously, this like. You take a half hour to get to it, and then you just trash me to like.
I'm sorry.
I want to talk about the movie. Let me introduce it. Jesus Christ! Sorry, I'm only halfway through a cup of coffee. And hilarity ensues. Well, no, it's a journey. Like it's Kristen Wiig's character is trying to plan all these things, but she gets bullied and like outshadowed by goddamn. Why did I write their names on like the last page? Rose Byrne.
She's so good.
Amazing.
It's about that journey of life, and like things may bring you down, but you have to, through friendships and whatnot, you make those right decisions to pull yourself up. Initial thoughts and reactions, guys. I know I've seen it a few times. I'm sure we've all seen it at a certain.
I do want to. There's an interesting thing I was thinking about, and I assume and I believe you were both there, but. So I'm going to just say the three of us, but I think the three of us all had the, unique opportunity of also hearing Kristen Wiig talk about how this, was put together and all of that. We saw her at Inside the Actor Studio. So that's, interesting perspective for all this. Caleb was not there, I'm assuming.
No, I was there, but I mean, in no disrespect to her, it was like easily the worst one that we went to, or I went to at least.
Well, no, it's because
she
like
clearly
post
was unprepared
SNL
and didn't know what kind of show it was going into.
Exactly, yeah.
And
There was a
answered
little-
every question very awkwardly. And James
Yeah.
Lipton was near the end of his life at that point, so he wasn't on the top of his game. It was just a very awkward situation.
It was a
It's
little.
not
It was
her
a little.
fault.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a little awkward. That is true.
Yeah.
But it was interesting hearing about them writing this, writing Bridesmaids and getting it produced, and doing their own thing. It was great in that respect. The movie itself, I mean, I hadn't seen it in a while. Cracked me up. It's hilarious. I love them doing improv. I mean, they're all absolutely hilarious. It's just every scene's gonna be funny. It was great.
Caleb, did you remember any more scenes minus the two after watching this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had seen it. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it like the first time it came out on VOD, like maybe when it was first on Netflix, like years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And it shook me, like, and I know that this was very purposeful, like what they were doing. There are there's a lot of famous men in really small parts
Yeah.
in this movie, which is like very clearly an intentional thing. Like Terry Crews is in it for like 2 seconds in the beginning. Tim Heidecker plays Maya Rudolph's husband, and he has no lines, but like I look at him and I'm like, I can't believe they hired you and like didn't let you do anything. He's such a genius. And then obviously John Hamm.
So good in it.
Fucking ridiculous. It's just interesting how it's funny, like him and Rose Byrne also are such. The first time I was exposed to them was in dramatic roles, and they're both
Right.
incredible as dramatic actors, but they usually do comedy, like they mostly do comedy. And so it's so interesting to see them.
But their big breaks
Yeah.
were in these
Were in
serious dramas that they
Yeah.
killed it in. Yeah. But to see, I mean, John Hamm since then is so funny. Hilarious.
He was boys with Paul Rudd. They like came up in comedy together. Like
Right.
that's what he wanted to do. And then
I didn't know
you
that.
look like you just stepped out of the 1950s. Like, please be Don Draper.
Like, you are an
And he crushes it.
outrageously handsome looking person. And when everybody, like, okay, Mad Men was this whole persona and everything. And then when he comes out and he started doing all the comedy, and all the comedy was taking the piss out of himself, everybody's like, oh, this is hilarious. You're the man. Let's move forward with you doing as much comedy as possible, please.
Yeah. And Rose Byrne is really good in Damages, and also
Yeah.
this movie called Sunshine. She
I
crushes.
love Damages. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the movie's okay. I feel like this is one of those movies that you can't be like in the middle of the road on. Like when you go online and you read the reviews, there's like the one camp that's like 5 stars, female empowerment. If you don't like it, you're sexist, which I think is fucking stupid. But then there's also the 1-star reviews that are like, women aren't funny and like, this is fucking dumb. And that's also ridiculous. Like both are ridiculous. I think this is a perfectly fine movie. There were plenty of moments that made me chuckle. I think that it's way too long. This movie did not need to be 2 hours long. Comedy should be short. Brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah,
Shakespeare
such a
said
fair
that.
criticism. Like, and the way to put the way you put that is like perfect. Yeah, like it's a great movie. It's not the best comedy ever made. It's definitely not the worst comedy ever made. I'd give it an 80% somewhere around. You know what I mean? Like it was good.
These like with comedies, and this is like what's interesting. I feel like with mainstream, there's like when you think of comedy movies, it's like just an excuse for funny people to get together and be funny. And that's like fine if that's the experience you're going and looking for. I'm the type of person, and if this makes me sound like pretentious or whatever, then I guess I'll go kill myself. But if I'm the type of person that looks for like a narrative experience, you know what I mean? Like I like a good story. And I think there are plenty of stories of movies that are narratively focused that are funny and can be funny. But this is just a movie about jokes, and it's a movie about funny character actors doing funny character actor things, and that's fine. And that's great. And I think there's a place for that. It's not my favorite. I think that, and it was interesting, Brandon, because last time you were like, I'm sure this is going to hold up and nothing's going to be offensive. And then the first time we see Chris O'Dowd play a police officer, he not only makes a crack about police brutality and improper conduct, also there's a Bill Cosby joke. And that takes a very different turn.
No. I thought did that not already happen? Because I totally took that joke.
Movie came out in 2011. Came out in 2011. Yep.
Oh, right. Oh shit!
So,
because Bill Cosby was back.
Josh, did you take that joke the same way I did? Because I thought that was the joke they were making. I forgot that had happened after.
You know what's funny? I did take the joke like what they were making, but it's but it did happen like what 5 years?
Oh, that's wild.
Or so before Bill Cosby got
Yeah.
arrested and
If
stuff.
that was intended for now, that's way too dark.
That's way too dark.
Like,
that's so funny.
Not that I'm saying that you can't make that joke, but I'm saying for the tone that movie was going for, way too dark. Totally out of place. Like, makes
well,
no
it's
sense.
like with that, and what's also funny too is like in the jeweler store, like the owner like touches like one of the employees, and he's like, "Please don't sue me later."
Yeah,
you know?
that's also
And
a little spicy now.
And it's
a little
still
too spicy
like
now.
it's so funny. Like, isn't that interesting though? Like back in 2011, like things that we can like kind of poke fun at, like shit hit the fan 4 years later.
Yeah, short amount
6
of
years
time
later, but
later for sure.
Very short.
No, I get Caleb. I get what you mean by like character actors just kind of playing character. But I will argue that in terms of Kristen Wiig's character and her acting, in terms of trying to pull her like story and like down in the dumps or whatever, like she kills it on the jokes. But I also keep like taking her situation seriously. I did believe her character in the sense of like just hating her life, not motivated, trying to figure out what to do, just getting pissed off at Helen, and her perfect fucking life, quote, but there's definitely stereotypes and caricatures of characters. You have the newlywed, you have the mom who just drinks and hates her children, you have Melissa McCarthy's. I couldn't put a name to her character type.
Melissa McCarthy
in the movie.
That's the type. It's Melissa McCarthy.
Well, she's doing like
she
Chris
made her own
Farley.
type. Yeah, she made her own type.
Chris Farley, but
Yeah.
obviously in like making it her own. I think she's great. I
She's
think that
fantastic.
she got fucked over by this movie a little bit because if you look at her like Wikipedia, the next like 4 things she did, she's playing the same character, and they're all terrible.
Yeah,
But then she came back with
it brought her to a point
stuff.
where she could do more stuff and whatever she wanted. You know what I mean?
For sure. But I think she
Like-
has an unfairly earned reputation of being bad, and I don't think she's bad. I think she's just
no,
I
made a
don't
bunch
think
of
that's
subpar
true.
comedies after this.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I
dude.
don't,
Look at her
I don't know
fucking.
that
Look at
that's
her
true.
fucking. Look at like all the fucking scores of her movies after this. They're all rotten.
That's
on
fair.
Tomatoes. Not that matters, but
I-
it's there's more work beyond this movie that she's known for, and it's
but
bad.
well, sorry. I just want to go back to what Josh said really quickly, and to what you said before about the what you said, like lack of story in this movie. I actually, and along with what Josh said, but I'll take it even farther. I mean, I thought that. And I didn't pay attention at all the first couple times I haven't watched this movie before, but I was actually trying to pay attention this time for this. Following Kristen Wiig's character and that story, I enjoyed it. Genuinely. Just, that's the story, and it's the story of her realizing that she's being a piece of shit to everybody. And that's the switch between the second and third act, is her realizing that, and then trying to make amends and doing things right. It's not a complex story. It's not a story that really drives the plot that much, you're right. But it was enough in there for me to be like, okay, that's a redemption-ish story. Like, she realizes that she's kind of being self-centered. She's being not a good friend. And then she's got to take control of her life. It's not...
But Caleb's right in the fact that like it is a very like it doesn't try to hide that it was a comedy written by Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo, and like they're stand-up comics. They do improv, and it's like, it's a very, like we keep saying, formulaic, but it's a comedy. It's you got these structures, you got these bits, right? Everything's structured on these bits. But is it a romantic comedy? A little bit. Is it a buddy comedy? A little bit. Like I do feel like it wasn't just one type of like comedy movie, but that was just a comedy written by a couple women who, truthfully set out to be like, hey, we can do poop jokes and sex jokes. And
great. I'm glad they broke that gender barrier.
You got to start somewhere.
Landmark. It was co-written by the woman who Kristen Wiig sits next to on the plane and is like freaking out. That's her writing partner.
That's what I thought was happening.
Yeah.
Annie Momolo.
Yeah.
And they've got a new movie coming out this year. So that'll be interesting. No, but do you know what I mean, Judge? Like it's just so obviously like, and what I mean by that, like they definitely have like a story thread connecting all of their joke scenes that like people can relate to and connect.
It's not
to.
what anybody cares about. It's you remember the jokes, right? Like that's
it's an excuse to get to the scenes where they can let these people improv.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just obvious because like every shot is shot reverse shot or two framed to like accommodate for like we don't know exactly where it's going, and like it's fun, but it's also like it's 2 hours. If it was an hour and a half and it was just tighter and they cut out the shitty jokes and just like got boom, I would have liked it more, I think.
Totally fair. But for me, as you know, because you've had to sit through this, I'll sit down and I'll watch bloopers from a TV show for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Or the outtakes and like the other, you know, them doing all the different improv scenes and stuff. So I'm a sucker for that anyway. So as soon as I started this movie in the first whatever scene with her and Maya Rudolph and they're clearly just letting it run and improving, I was like, oh man, I'd watch 4 hours of this just of them dicking around, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's like what experience you go into wanting. I think like this is like, it's like when you watch like, I don't know, anything we grew up on. Like I think I've like grown out of like stuff like, you know, I don't know what was popular, like all the Adam Sandler shit or like Anchorman, like all that stuff. Like I don't really find that interesting anymore. But it is like if you just want to laugh at something really stupid, like it's perfect for that. And I think this movie definitely it succeeds at what it's trying to do. Like, there are plenty of moments where I laughed. Like, the opening scene where she and John Hamm are having sex is hilarious. I love the scene. I mean, like, I think it's gross, but I think the scene, like, they eat the Brazilian food and they go try on the dresses. That's like,
it was great.
One of the most iconic. I mean,
it's classic. Yeah. Like, here's the thing. It's like you put a situation in a place where you shouldn't have the situation, and you're going to have comedy with like, but the highlight for that scene for me was Kristen Wiig trying not to throw up in that competition between her and Rose or Helen. And she's like, maybe you should throw up. And she's like, no, actually I'm hungry. And she's like profusely, cause we know Kristen Wiig on SNL, right? So it's like her keeping the character, the bit going. And then she's like, ooh, a Jordan almond. You know, it's stuff like that really cracked me up. But again, it's because, you know, Maya Rudolph, Kristen Wiig, like we've seen their bits on SNL, and we like some of the more memorable characters from SNL came from Kristen Wiig, you know, and she's brilliant in that. And they both, you know, Kristen Wiig started in The Groundlings, you know, in LA and stuff like that, where she actually met Annie, where they started writing this or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I think that this movie does stand above a little more of the Knocked Up, the 40-Year-Old Virgin, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, like those kind of comedies that we kind of saw like in the 2000s.
Talladega Nights.
I was just gonna say Talladega Nights is more. I'd pump the brakes there. Talladega Nights might be a light year ahead. I don't know.
I mean,
I love that.
I agree, Josh. That I mean, I don't think that movie would like hold up, but I just imagine Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sentiment, I agree with for sure.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with the sentiment. I just have a very, very soft spot for Talladega Nights as well.
In terms of a structured comedy movie, you know, all women cast, and I thought I did find it interesting though that they chose not to have like, because you know when people are like bachelor party, Vegas, let's go crazy. I liked the choice to not actually go to Vegas because
they absolutely didn't have the budget to shoot in Vegas, Josh. But that's great.
Sure.
That's great that they found a way to make that funny, like to use their limitations as humor. Like that's a great scene.
Right. So they used the plane ride exactly, and you know, and then the bus ride home was the vehicle to like kind of catapult her to her bottom. You know what I mean?
Nobody who voluntarily shoots in Milwaukee has the budget to go to Vegas.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I was reading up on it. They shot primarily in LA. They didn't go to. They had probably some of the shots, the exteriors, reels, whatever.
Yeah,
the exteriors in Milwaukee, but everything was shot mostly in LA. And it was funny because Paul was saying that you know it's very hard to find because like Chicago's a very unique structure, architecture, and things like that. So it's very hard to find similar architecture in LA, downtown LA, right? Mm-hmm. Or you know, they had to film way outside of LA where they can have flat, you know, green
they
plains or whatever that looks like Wisconsin. You know what I mean? So they didn't really film in Chicago in terms of the principal photography, but it is interesting that they still were like, yeah, we can't go to Las Vegas, but it's also been done. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But also every situation in this movie has been done. I just find there was a different flavor to it, especially. I was very proud of Kristen Wiig writing in that finally when Annie broke at the fucking bridal shower, and she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious right now?" And then she freaks out and she breaks the cookie and
The fountain,
like
right?
tries to push over the fountain, and like it's just so funny. And then her and Lillian have this like really real moment of like, yeah, well, fuck you, man, like, you know. And I thought that was really kind of poignant a little bit. And of course, you know, I loved how extra the party was with the puppies, you know, and then like even the pink lemonade, her driving. And she's like, I don't want this fucking lemonade. And then she, beside her, you know, despite herself, she tries it and she's like, oh, god damn, that's good. Fuck, that's fresh.
I think
you know, I don't know. It's cute.
Your like litmus for enjoying this movie is going to be like, I mean, it's humor, it's subjective. So it's like, do you find these actresses funny? And if you do, this is going to be a great movie.
Yeah, exactly. And they're all hilarious. And we all know that going into it. You know what I mean? We've seen them on everything, as you know, just across the board. I can never remember her name, but the blonde woman who was the one with the blonde woman who's always yelling at her kids.
The character's name is Rita.
So I can't remember her name, but she's the mom in the Goldbergs, and she is hilarious.
I haven't seen,
and I am a huge fan. I know, Caleb, but I'm Jewish, so I have.
You have to. Yeah, it's a little off.
I'm not gonna lie. I love it. I find it hilarious.
You get a letter from Israel being like, you have to watch the Goldbergs.
It's very funny. It's very funny.
I believe you.
I like it a lot.
I think I first saw this movie before Kimmy Schmidt had come out, so I didn't know who Ellie Kemper was. So it's interesting to watch her in this.
Because she was in The Office too, but you don't watch The Office.
I actually have I haven't sat down to marathon it. No, listen. I watched all of the episodes with Zach Woods in them, because I think he's really funny.
Right.
And the moment, is it Ed Helms? He's like yelling at him. He's like, "Shut up about the sun!" Like literally.
So it's Ed Helms being interviewed. He's interviewing Ed Helms for a position, and he's like, "How far away is the Earth from the sun?" And Ed Helms starts trying to do all the math. He's like, "Shut up about the sun."
I think I almost passed out. I was laughing so hard. Dude, so for sure, there's good.
Remind me after this to send you the clip. There's a blooper where it's Zach Woods and Rainn Wilson and John Krasinski in between them, and it's one of the funniest bloopers ever. And they're having this like standing like man off argument.
Seen that. I think I've seen that.
So funny. And like Rainn Wilson keeps like coughing like protein powder out of his mouth, and John Krasinski keeps spitting coffee back into his mug because he can't stop laughing. It's unbelievable.
Zach Woods is definitely one of the most underrated. Like he's just a comedic genius.
I love him.
There's the scene where he's like talking to the people in the break room about this like Korean soap opera he's watching, and he goes like really into detail about it, and they're like, "Do you have to have an Asian fetish to watch it?" And he's like, "It definitely helps."
Well, when they go to his, I don't know if you saw it, but there's an episode where they go to his house or his apartment, and it's all like Andy eats a bunch of ground up seahorse. It's pretty sweet.
Ew, disgusting. But as far as Bridesmaids goes, I feel bad because that's the only actress that I don't know her name. Because I haven't seen her in anything else.
It's Wendy McClendon.
Wendy McClendon
is her. But no, I get it. No, it's definitely not everybody's taste. It's like, you know, when Hangover came out, I loved Hangover that summer. Because of the type of humor it was. I don't know what the exact category it falls into, because like this kind of comedy is definitely different than, you know, the Marx Brothers. You know what I mean? So,
but that's the thing is like we were talking about earlier, you know, cultural like appreciation and like ability to absorb different comedy like changes like every couple years, as it should. And so like you should kind of like morph, and your taste should change, and you don't necessarily have to find the same things funny today that you did when you were 12. You know, like there's a difference, and there's, you know, like there's definitely stuff that I have fondly from my childhood, like on the 4th of July I watched Team America. which
just never
which
not
like
gonna be
doesn't like hold up that great today. Like there's some stuff that is really too much, but there's also a lot of, you know, it's the South Park guys, and they're like very intelligent, and so there are moments like anytime they take a pot shot at Hollywood or like actors, it's still brilliant. You know, the political stuff is hit or miss, you know, but it's okay because that movie came out in a very different time. And I think like, not that this movie is making any fucking huge like political stances or anything like that, but just there's like some stuff that I'm like, oh, I would have found this funny like 5 years ago, you know. But then there are jokes that still land like really well. Like I thought that the for some reason, I don't know why this sticks out of my head, but in the end, like towards the end of the movie, we're in the car and Rose Byrne's like crying and Kristen Wiig's like, it just makes me happy that you're ugly. And she's like, I'm not an ugly cry. I'm not
ugly, right? No, I'm
that made me laugh. Like, stuff made me laugh.
She's like,
she keeps reassuring herself, like, I'm not ugly.
Because that's a moment that's based in character.
Right.
Like, that makes sense for her to feel that way, and it's a great character moment. And I feel like too often these movies or these people feel like they have to, like, it feels like these filmmakers sometimes they feel like, all right, we're gonna like have a bunch of boring plot stuff, and then we're gonna get to a bunch of jokes, and like they feel like, I don't know why they don't just make them the same. You can have them be the same thing. It's totally possible.
Definitely,
but that's just me.
Well, go ahead.
Just speaking about what we were talking about with the using different language and jokes that don't really hit as much anymore. I was watching Entourage again the other day, just like started season 1, and it was like right off the bat, and like still look, it's still it's an HBO show, so where they're coming from with a lot of the stuff is still, you know what I mean? It's like, okay. But just right off the bat, there's just like F-bombs and R-bombs and just like, words that are not used at all in TV anymore. At all. So it's just like, it takes you out of it right now a little bit.
Yeah, of course
it does.
I
assume that's the first season, and especially in the pilot, and I assume like now I'm in having like the second season again or whatever, and it's already way less, like as the show goes on.
There's always like a growing rewrite stuff. I found it interesting though. This was Rebel Wilson's first American film.
Really?
Yep.
This was before Pets Perfect?
Probably like the year before, or like 2 years before.
Wow.
She was just a minor character. The brother-sister relationship was awkward.
Lucas,
it was really funny.
Which I thought was funny because they didn't do anything to hide her accent, but she's like clearly an Australian and he's clearly British.
Yeah. But then the plane scene I found interesting. It's with this the climate right now with like money, and we're talking about like how like money pays for education and the class system, and like the whole idea of first class versus coach, and the idea of like, it kind of stung me a little bit where the guy was like, no, coach people can't be up here because, it's policy. And I'm like, get over yourself. You know what I mean? And like, it was cool that she even pointed out like, these should stay open.
Well, but also like the reality of that situation is, don't they like give away seats all the time and upgrade people like all the time to first class seats? Like that's a very regular thing, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they definitely leaned into
what the airline policies were like in 2011, but I know that I've definitely been upgraded
obviously,
to Josh. So this is a totally tangent. Josh, do you remember when we went to Puerto Rico? I like was one of the people on our flight back. They called me and they were like, we're gonna like put you up for a night because we overbooked our flight. And then I was like, I get to stay an extra day. That's fucking awesome. But then like 2 hours before the plane was going to take off, they were like, we changed our mind. You got to get here right now or you lose your ticket. So
Jesus. Yeah, no, it was a stressful. No, it's crazy where like, the planes are the same size, but the seats get smaller and you kind of get, it's more money. Right. But, and they definitely leaned in for the jokes, for the bit of like being super diligent on like, the whole, the stuck up, it's first class, like can't she sit here, and I loved it when she was like, no, I'm Mrs. Iglesias, like
that's what I'm saying. That was like
all
right, Kristen's just gonna improv for like a couple hours and we'll use the best stuff, and it's obvious, and like if you don't mind that, then fine.
And I don't even, and again, with Melissa McCarthy and her husband in that scene, like the guy who's playing the air marshal, I would have watched that all day. I would have watched a movie of just them having those conversations on the plane.
And you saw him break too. Yeah.
And when he finally gets up and has his taser or his gun or whatever, and he's like, I'm an air marshal. She's like, I knew it. Gets me every time.
Yeah, it's this cycle is going to be interesting with the comedy stuff because it is going to be a lot of our own. Like I watched it a second time last night and I was like, yeah, no, this is a good kind of indication of what I find funny in a movie and what'll get me, which I guess I'm a low clown. What you call it? Like low humor,
which I don't think is true about you, but I think I'm probably just
you.
No, I'm saying I'm saying
in
as a
terms of
compliment, like he was about to be self-deprecating, and I'm saying I don't think that's true. I think you have a wide variety of tastes. There are people that only think that Adam Sandler movies are funny, even the ones that come out now, and they won't watch.
I'm right here.
I think what's funny is that the Adam Sandler movies, like Caddyshack and things like that, are like I find them silly. That's a thing too. But I also didn't grow up on them.
Also,
like I didn't watch them until I was like an adult.
But Caddyshack and like Adam Sandler movies are because Caddyshack's Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, way back. Like it's a different. Different field of movie. I think you're thinking I think you meant Happy Gilmore. I think
Happy. Yes.
Yeah,
Happy.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Happy Gilmore. Or like Little Nicky or
Mr. Deeds.
things like that. Mr. Deeds, I actually like Adam Sandler more in the serious character, like in terms of the serious comedies, like 50 First Dates or
Uncut
Click,
Gems,
or
he's fucking unreal.
Uncut Gems, he's fantastic.
Punch Drunk Love.
Dude, I have the Blu-ray. Oh yeah, it's so good.
Rain Over Me.
I haven't seen that one, but
I'm sure that might be his best performance.
But even the Will Ferrell movies, like I love Step Brothers, but like I can only watch Anchorman so many times, or you know what I mean? Like there's different levels of different things, but I think
then there are moments you come back to. It's okay. It's and those movies
but I feel
are
like in terms of
and they're fine.
Absolutely, 100%. But what I'm trying to get at is like in terms of as an actor and then like a director, like the stuff that I would tend to lean more towards is the like Bridesmaids. You know what I mean? That style of situational humor and.
It's interesting. It's something I've been thinking about a lot because like when we first got to school, I was pretty like when we first got there, I was doing a lot of comedy stuff like at school. And then that changed very hard. And I stopped. And now like I don't, other than comedic commercials and stuff, I don't get called in for a lot of comedy stuff. It's interesting how you have to brand yourself, especially when you're like in the audition process and all of that, where like. My headshots don't lead to that at all. My headshots look very serious. It's all like,
Yeah.
So it's like, I've been thinking about that a lot and trying to figure out things to like put out there and stuff to like, be like, oh, right. I just look like a serious dickhead all the time, which is great for certain roles. But yeah, I like to laugh on set also.
Well, yeah. And it's hard to like, it's hard to watch. Like I could easily see myself as the cop, character or even the douchebag, like the John Hamm character. But it all just kind of depends on, your like kind of what you feel. But it's hard because like in terms of school, like I always directed like the serious dramas or whatever. But I never really got a crack at comedy just because I guess during school I wasn't labeled the comedy director.
Except for Birdsong.
Haha.
Except for Birdsong, which is a buddy comedy with a brother and sister.
Another classic Brandon comedic performance, getting stabbed and stuff.
Yeah, spoilers for a fucking play.
First of all, it's not a spoiler. That's the first thing that happens.
Oh, I immediately went to the end.
know what you thought,
so now it's a spoiler for real.
Wow, now you spoiled it, Caleb.
I played myself. I am Boo Boo the Fool.
You wrote it, so if you want to spoil it, that's fair.
Yeah, if anybody, it's my call.
Yeah, 100%. You're the one that's allowed to tweet that.
I don't know I don't know if we're like nearing the end of the conversation or not, but I did want to bring up when I just want to know what you guys think about this. When I was in my screenwriting class, there was somebody who, when the professor, who is a very intelligent, creative, amazing guy, he like brought up this movie as an example of like fun, like really funny movies, and this person in the class was very upset and said that this movie is like an example of how men think that women can only be funny if they're intensely suffering. And I didn't want to say anything because I don't want to say anything and start a fight.
And did the teacher say anything?
No, but the professor. Well, what do you do? Like, what do you do when you hear that? It's like, what am I going to argue with you?
It was written by women.
Well, but it's like you can be you can self-hate. You can be a misogynist. Women or like whatever.
Right. So
I don't know. But I was thinking about it while I was watching this movie. I was like, I haven't seen it in years. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'll go in and that's what I'll get out of it. But like, I just don't see it. And if you guys. Help me out. Like, help me see it.
No, I don't see it.
Help me give any validity to this view.
I don't see it at all. I don't know what to say in the fact that I don't want to say anything. Okay, here's the thing.
What Brandon's trying to say is that that's a perspective, and when I sit down objectively and watch this movie as a comedy, I see, writing that kind of ticks all the boxes, and I've seen, Kristen Wiig and Annie Momolo went out to write a comedy that essentially says, hey, listen, we can do this too, and we can, be just as funny as the raunchy guy comedies or whatever. And I think they succeeded. I don't think they have to put a specific situation onto it to make it funny, right? Having a woman trying to go through the wedding planning process and having a best friend who is they used to be much closer when they were younger, but Lillian and Annie, like, they kind of grew apart because of just life in general, which happens to all of us. Like, my best friend's in LA, right? From high school. But I still, plan on making him my best man or whatever, but like, and then it's like, how do you do it? Like, do you go to the friend that you've known recently who kind of knows you and who's been a part of your life where you're at now?
Or the friend who buys you tickets to Paris.
Or the friend that buys you tickets to Paris. But that's the situation, but you have to make it kind of like, it's a very stressful situation for women to plan a wedding and to get married and to realize that this is the last moment to have in her specific apartment with all these memories. Like, those are real situations. To label that as a movie just full of women suffering is such a narrow-minded viewpoint.
It's also I think the reality is it's very easy for people to criticize and be very against something that you want to do. In that, whether that's acting or writing or whatever, it's much easier to be like, oh, that guy sucked, and the reality is that guy was amazing, and it's just because I wanted to do that role. You know what I mean? Like, people are people, artists are artists. They're trying their best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
So,
I'm not trying to make a comment about anybody. I'm just saying that viewpoint to me seems reductive. Like Josh, like what you were saying.
No, I agree.
I feel like it's not accurate. And I don't understand how you got that from this. Yeah.
And I'm sure there are movies where it is accurate, but not this one. They worked their asses off.
I'm not saying that viewpoint isn't valid. I'm just saying for this movie, I don't see how it applies.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know.
If you're looking at it strictly from like structure and the writing perspective, like in 2011, it was very, very, very well received in terms of a comedy, and so
Academy Award nominations, which I think is a little ridiculous.
Nominations, yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
For what?
I mean,
screenplay.
I
and
like
Melissa
that.
McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy. I don't know. To be honest, Melissa McCarthy.
See what I mean?
I don't think.
Which I think fueled a little bit of like the contrary, like the one camp about how they say it's not a good movie. They're like, it's overrated with the, and I'm like, whatever. I don't think it matters ultimately. I think the people who won that year deserve to win. So if other people get nominated, then great. But it was just, I'm like, really, for this? Like the best actress,
definitely,
like the best screenplay for this? I don't know. It's a little.
Well, yeah, and I wish, but it did. I mean, it did win awards for like best comedy. Like in different like sub awards, like People's Choice, things like that. But like, it's definitely, it has its niche, kind of like. Yeah, but you're not, especially with a comedy, you're not going to please everybody at all.
Yeah,
like, you're writing a movie for yourself, and that's all you need to do, and put the work in, and people find you're definitely going to have that following from,
the last
SNL days.
Person that everybody agreed was funny was fucking Charlie Chaplin. So like, you can't do it. Not everybody's going to like you.
Which is interesting because now it's my turn, a small tangent. So HBO Max started putting a lot more content on their stuff, and they have the Turner Classic Movies,
cool,
which actually has House on it. I saw, and they also have all the Charlie Chapman and things like that, and I saw this weird looking movie called Eraserhead that I'm gonna have to watch.
Did you just call Eraserhead this weird looking movie?
It looks this guy with the big old hair.
Yeah, it's like super famous, right?
Never
it's like one of those famous experimental films of all time.
Oh my god. Question, Caleb, is that why Eraserhead in My Hero has his demeanor? It's almost a very Lynch-like demeanor.
I'm sure it's a reference. I don't know.
Oh, by the way, just
so
you know, so we have to talk about this later, not on the podcast, but I totally finished season 3 of My Hero like 2 weeks ago. So we have to talk about that at some point. But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
4.
Season 4.
And honestly,
Josh,
my final note. Okay, I'm going to. Final note on my end, though. Any movie that ends with "Hold On" by Wilson Phillips is an A+ in my book. That
they were so
was the number one song when I was born.
This is embarrassing.
It was crazy.
Caleb. Friggin'. Oh no, they were lip singing.
You have them
Oh,
there.
God.
Sing the song.
Just pay them more.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That's true.
It's only
Stress them
because
out,
you can
why
hear
don't
like
you?
when the lead singer like opens her mouth, it's like clearly a layered harmony like of her own vocal track.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just like not even
Right.
trying to.
But also, I mean, you know, that's how they film any music stuff anyway, right? You gotta really put it in after.
I know I'm being a bastard.
That's why dancing
All right.
always looks the best at clubs in movies, because they're just like,
People, yeah, it's just like people like me and Brandon being
yeah.
extras for the day, going like,
just.
Well, that's
little
the thing
head
is, like,
bopping.
you saw that with, like, the movie's titled Bridesmaids, but, so it's focused on the bridesmaids, but then you have the groomsmen, you know, and they're all just like, yeah, cool, we're at this wedding, and we're just kind of dancing. It was cheesy, it was fun, but,
You know what would have been really, probably not, but I would have loved if just randomly, like, nah, never mind. It would have been cheap, but it would have been great if, like, at the party or something, they had done something where the groomsmen that showed up at the end were like the Hangover guys. It was like a little tie-in.
oh, they kind
like
of
the
pulled
actor,
it in
like,
with the...
like Cooper and
Yeah, like Cooper
Galifianakis
and they're just standing there, like, as like the, you know what I mean?
when did
all,
Hangover
like,
come out?
Before that, for sure.
For sure.
2000...
Oh 08 maybe 09.
Yeah.
7, 8, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
So,
know.
shall we... I think we've, you know, shall we attempt to rate...
Yeah. We're
comedy?
We're just over an hour into, so about that time.
Josh, you go first.
Yeah, man, your movie. You picked it.
You know, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Solid comedy. I think it. You know, I chuckled watching it twice in 4 days. It's gonna make me laugh forever. So
Yeah, I'm also
4 out of 5.
I'm also gonna give it a 4. I really enjoyed it. It's good comedy. And like I said, that 80%. That's how I felt about
Yeah.
it.
Cool. I'm giving it a 3.
Oh,
There you go. Expected. Better than I thought.
Well, I can't in good conscience give it anything lower because I did laugh. Like, you know what I mean? If I was like sitting there like stone faced the
Right.
whole time, but they're very funny and they won me over. But it's just as a movie, I'm like, come on, it's 2 hours
Yeah.
long.
Well, and now
get that.
it's getting difficult with the ratings too, because I'm like, okay, well, I rated like whatever Godfather at like 4.5 or like whatever. So I'm like,
Well, we
I
had
can't,
this conversation, Brandon. We had this conversation that it's movie. You have to separate movies from things. Like as a standalone, taking Bridesmaids, you rate it a certain way.
I rated a 4.
You take Godfather, you rate it a certain way. Like this,
Yeah, but this still
you
has
can't-
to like
I
make
mean,
sense to me in my brain.
Sure, 100%.
Ratings,
But
I just think it's funny how you won't give anything a 5, but all that means is that 4.5 is your 5 because that's the highest you'll go. That's all it means. You're just operating on a 4.5 scale.
Nah, man, that's just because we haven't watched the Lego Batman movie yet. That's gonna get him.
All right.
Yo, I've done
Okay,
some
right.
great
speaking
movies.
of speaking of movies, Brandon's gonna pick. What do we got going on next time?
Okay. What?
Okay.
Are you okay? Are you having a stroke?
Yeah, no, I'm just getting you guys prepared. There's a little bit of pageantry, okay? I apologize.
Is it
I
a
also
nice
keep-
tale again?
Well, yes. I also
Rewatch.
keep. No, I want to watch the Taiki one, the We're in the Shadows, the vampire one. I can't remember the name.
What
right
We
now
Do in the
exactly, but
Shadows?
What We Do in the Shadows? Yeah, I want to. watch
Hell
that again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie's
And, like,
amazing.
And it launched his career. It's hilarious.
well,
Josh, have you
that's
seen it?
debatable.
Who's this? What we?
It's Taiki
Taika
Waititi.
Waititi, the director of Thor Ragnarok and a
He's
bunch of
ama-
other incredible
Yeah, and he
films.
always plays like Korg in Thor. He's amazing. But his one of his bigger movies back in the day, where it's like a documentary style movie, and it follows him, and it's the guy from the Flight of the Conchords. And
Jermaine Clement.
they're vampires, and another guy, and they're vampires who are like living in this world now. And it's like a documentary crew, like following them
Okay.
around. It's really fucking funny, man. You're gonna like. You're
is
gonna
this
like
what?
It.
Is this what the TV show? The TV show is based off this movie.
yes.
The
Same thing.
movie's
Yes,
the
Okay.
movie is much better.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I am
Yeah.
stoked. Thank you. I was worried
Yeah.
that it was like going to be,
I thought you were
I
gonna
don't
like
know.
that one.
but I'm really stoked on this, man. Thank you.
No, I was either gonna be that or Beverly Hills Ninja. But I love Chris Farley to bits. Like that's I grew up watching the SNL Best of Chris Farley over and over and over again, and like so now watching that it makes me sad. So
Well,
that was the
yeah.
other side of it.
I mean, that's funny because you were going to do Beverly Hills Ninja because I'm going to do next week Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Oh, sick!
Oh,
You can't take
shit.
it back now, though. You said it.
And I want to continue with Beverly Hills
Beverly Hills Cop
Hillbillies, whatever.
2.
Or Cop.
Naked Gun 3.5.
All right.
Oh, fantastic.
No, I'm
Cool.
I'm really
Looking forward to
pumped
it.
on this, guys. I can't
Brandon,
wait.
do you know what it's on?
I
Do you know if it's on anything or no?
don't. We'll double check for you.
It's on. It is on something. We'll talk about it after. I know. It's on something.
Yeah, it's on.
Cool.
It's on something. But I'll find it, and like worst case, I can like rent it and send it off to you guys or whatever. We'll figure it out.
Sure. Awesome. Well, with that being said, I'd just love to say thanks you guys for listening. Thanks Brandon and Caleb for some good tangents and some good conversation about Bridesmaids. So take care, and we'll see you guys next time.